He's doubting my words like he needs some proof. Plus he struggles with the idea of absolute truth. He won't practice those things which he don't esteem. He hates absolute truth, then he's a supreme being. Since he has no standards, then he has no answers. His contribution in life is just prostate cancer. I try to answer the questions he throws my way. Hopefully another man will be born today.
So I feel like just discussing manhood is with that. This comes to ladies. Like, we gotta talk about that. And I heard like a very interesting quote. And like I'm saying, like I heard this. I didn't make this up. Like this is just what I heard. And they said that most men don't want a wife. They just want a prostitute, somebody they can have sex with, a maid, somebody that'll clean up after them, and a counselor, somebody that'll deal with their problems. So like, yeah. I know. I didn't, like I said, I didn't make this up. But yeah, so that's serious, you know, like it's a serious issue. So like, let's talk about that. Let's dive into that. Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Prostitute, maid, and
counselor.
I think definitely in today's culture, I think that quote is true for a lot of men, especially just that prostitute piece. I mean, we get this, you know, we see on TV, you know, in the hip hop culture, we got Nicki Minaj and this her whole persona. We got, you know, Beyonce, like every girl has to be like that. So really, you got these men living a dream. Like at the end of the day, like they don't really want women, they want women they see on TV. Like so, womanhood is confused along with manhood, and it's manhood being confused leads to womanhood being confused, and like what it really means to have a girl and to treat her, you know, properly and different things like that, because you live in this dream world where like she's supposed to meet the standard of a girl to who she's not. So like we're not really accepting women for who they are, who God created them to be, who their parents created them to be, but actually who, you know, we want them to be. So that's that whole prostitute. And then maid, I mean, obviously that is kind of controversial in the sense of like thinking of women as only to be housekeepers and different things like that, but that's not the aim either, you know, not to have this kind of overbearing view towards women as if that's all that they can do, that they are our helpers in the sense of like our slaves. Like men and women were always equal, but we're just different. So there's just roles that men are supposed to play and the roles that women are supposed to play. And those roles are not supposed to be switched. I think a lot of times, in today's culture, we get women, you know, with the whole feminists to want to rise up and overbear over men. And men in rebuttal try to, you know, assume this staunch attitude to where it's like, no, we are men. And, you know, it just goes back to like, at the end of the day, it's not about trying to see who's above one another, but realizing that we're equal and then playing our roles the way they're supposed to be played. And that whole counselor thing, I mean, you're going to the wrong person for your problems. Like, they have issues as well, for one, in a lot of ways. But a woman isn't just your therapist or something like that. You know, like if you need help, then you know that's not who you go to primarily. I think it's, you know, of course, women definitely have some interesting things to say to, you know, encourage you or do anything like that, of course. But that's not all a woman should be looked at. So I just think it's so many different misconceptions about women because of who we make women to, we want them to be, and just not accepting them for who they are a lot of times.
I think the piece on the prostitute, I think is probably really prevalent in our culture. I think the first image is like having sex, but I also think people, and having sex with women, not the right way of course, using them as objects. But I think that can also be taken to the emotional context too, just even in relationships. You know what I mean? Like using women, seeing them as objects instead of people who God and their parents have created them to be. So I think it goes beyond the physical, but also the internal stuff too.
It's just kind of like objectifying women, you know what I mean? Like they're here to serve me, to serve my pleasures, to serve my lusts, to serve my desires. You know what I mean? And that's just so wrong. Like you said, you know, we have a wrong picture of what it means for women to be the maid of the house and things like that. But I think it's kind of like the analogy of the Trinity, right? Like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They all have different roles, yet they're all equally divine. In the same sense, man and woman were both made in the image of God equally, yet they just have different roles. And in the sense, when you talk about kind of like the woman serving the man, like I feel like the man should also be serving the woman. Like we're supposed to be loving the wife as Christ loved the church, and that's a great call. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to just kind of look at one side and say, okay, the women are called to do this, this, and that. No, the men have a great responsibility. The men need to be leaders, protectors, providers, and let's stand up to that. You know what I mean? So, I feel like
I think like just with society, like from a society point of view, you're just so confused about it. You know what I mean? Like, so you look up to like dudes like if Lil Wayne was my role model, like first he's telling me like have sex with every girl in the world. So like, yeah, you know what I mean? Let's go do that. And then next you make a song like How to Love. You know what I mean? So like, you know what I mean? So it's like you just get confused. So I feel like, yeah, man, like most dudes definitely do feel that way. Most dudes definitely need a clear understanding of, you know, how to treat a lady. And, you know, like that's just something I really feel like briefly, you know, let's kind of just talk about that. You know, we agree that most men view women like they're animals, they're a piece of meat. So like now, like how are they supposed to treat them? Like how would you say a man's supposed to treat women?
I would say like just to begin that you should treat them as either as sisters or as friends. And the context of relationships can be different. But I do think that both of them are centered on love. I think being servant-hearted, as I mentioned before, affirming, encouraging, and I think there's so many different things that go into it. When you see them as people, somebody that's close to you. But I think the sister piece is bigger than any of them, because if would you treat any woman, you know, the way you objectify them, like your sister. You know what I mean? Like I think when you put it in the context of the family, it changes your whole entire perspective sometimes.
I think the responsibility is definitely for men to have a proper view of who women are, but it's also the responsibility lies on the women to really have an authentic view of their own identity. And I think a lot of times women get in this place to where, because of the men, they feel as if they need to change or shape themselves in such a way so that they can please men, so they can please other women a lot of times as well. So I think at the end of the day, it's also responsibilities on the women to have a true view of who they are internally, and to where what they try to look like outside won't be some type of false model of what it really means to be a woman, so that men will be able to see proper examples of women, and maybe, you know, that will help in them being able to respect that, because a lot of women don't respect themselves.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think there needs to be kind of like a mutual encouragement, right? Because typically what you see is like the wife beaters, right? Like, and in that, even in those, well, not all the time, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so in those kind of situations, still the woman is like loving the husband. They're like, even no matter what, if they keep on hurting them, they're like, but he's still my husband, I still love him. They genuinely kind of still want to come back to him. And that's that need of identity, like you're saying, in the husband. And I feel like there needs to be a sense of mutual encouragement. Like the man needs to be like, you're beautiful, you're like, you're doing a great job, like I love you as my wife, as my whatever, you know, as my sister. So I feel like mutual encouragement is important. And also, like you said, like the wife not to find their identity in, first and foremost, their spouse, but in God firstly.
That's good.
And then in their spouse.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely feel like just the biggest thing, how to treat a woman. You know, like Julian said, the very first thing, treat her like you want to treat you want your sister to be treated. So you don't want no dude just smash your sister, throwing her to the side of the curb. You know what I mean? Like treat her with utmost respect. You know, just really love her more than you love yourself. So that's just end of the day, point blank. You know, man up. If you're gonna have a woman, you know, you might as well treat her with respect. You know, so yeah.